Welcome back to Army Live. I'm Ryan Giacobbi with the sports. Now, after splitting last weekend's series against the Canisius Golden Griffins 7-2 and 6-4 respectively, Army men's hockey plays tonight in the Midwest to face the Air Force Falcons at 9:05 p.m. and tomorrow at 7:05 p.m. in what should be a good Atlantic hockey series. Now, after playing in Syracuse last weekend, Army women's hockey returns to Colonials Arena this weekend for the first time this semester to face RIT tonight at 7:05 p.m. for Mental Health Awareness Night and for their Skate with the Colonials event. Robert Morris plays tomorrow as well at 3:05 p.m. Army men's basketball defeated the Sacred Heart University Pioneers last night 72-64. Robert Morris jumped out to an early 5-0 lead and continued to lead until they defeated Sacred Heart. Maddie McConnell performed with 30 minutes played with 6 field goals, 3 3-pointers, and 19 points scored. Robert Morris plays again tomorrow when they host the Wagner College Seahawks at 5 p.m. at the North Athletic Complex. Army women's basketball extended their long winning streak to 6 games after they defeated the Central Connecticut State Blue Devils this past Monday, 64-57. Nadej Kluvios and Honoka Ikematsu broke through early for the Colonials with a 5-0 lead.
I'm Jack O'Brien for RMU Century Media with another weekend roundup. Today is Monday, December 10th, 2018, and here is your past weekend in Colonial sports. Women's track headed to the Youngstown State Icebreaker, in which Robert Morris showcased their talents. The list of participants that finished in the top 10 of their event is as follows. Tara Golagram finished 8th in the 60-meter hurdle, Caitlin Hawkins tied for 8th in pole vault, Zoe Rouge finished 5th in long jump, Estelle Katendi finished 1st in shot put, Robert Morris placed 3rd in the 4x400-meter relay, and Tara Richardson finished 3rd in the 1,000-meter run. Men's hockey had 2 games against Holy Cross in which they split the weekend series again. The Colonials won and lost by the same score, 2-0. Francis Marat sealed the Colonial victory in the first game with a 36-save shutout as Luke Lynch and Michael Coyne tacked on goals in the second and third period. Women's hockey had a rough weekend in Minneapolis, facing off against the number 2 Golden Gophers, losing 6-1 and 5-0. The Colonials couldn't find an answer for Minnesota's offensive attack, surrendering 11 goals in 2 games. J.C. Gebhardt notched the only goal for Robert Morris as the Gophers walk away with 2 big wins. Women's basketball fell to Kent State 54-46 in a close contest early on. Robert Morris jumped out to an early lead but saw it vanish as the Golden Flash picked up the scoring after the first quarter. Nneka Ezebo led the way for the Colonials, scoring 18 points in the loss. Finally, men's basketball lost to Siena on Saturday 74-71. The Colonials were able to overcome an 18-point deficit in the second half to take the lead at 66-65 and would build up a 4-point lead with under 2 minutes left. The Saints would have a small comeback of their own eventually and seal it with a go-ahead 3 by Kevin Degnan with 2 seconds remaining to make it 74-71. That would be enough as the last-second 3 by Josh Williams would not fall as the Saints sneak away with a victory. For more on RMU sports, head over to RMUCenturyMedia.com for the weekend roundup by Ryan Giacobbi and the Game of the Week podcast by John Hanna. For RMU Century Media, I'm Jack O'Brien. Have a great week and a great break.
Let's switch it up and go to hockey, because I know you're a huge hockey fan, Gallo. The women's hockey team lost both games to number 2 ranked Minnesota this past weekend. However, they were able to sneak in enough votes to get into the top 10 in the country's rankings. Do you guys think that they are deserving of this top 10 ranking, and do you think they'll be able to hang with number 4 Clarkson this weekend?
I think so, honestly. And the way they played against Minnesota was excellent.
If we take Minnesota minus the third period of that second game, they were only outscored 6-4 to the number 2 team in the entire nation.
Exactly. This is a bit of a contrast from last year where they got absolutely dominated by Minnesota at Minnesota.
6-1.
Yeah, they were able to play pretty well against this team, against number 2, and I think they have a good chance to beat Clarkson. You know, Clarkson's number 4. Clarkson's a good program.
But to his question about should they be ranked, it's close. I mean, they have 9 points in 10th place. Harvard's only 3 points behind. So it's really a 10A, 10B, 10C situation between
Here's why
them,
I
Harvard,
believe
and
they
Boston.
should be ranked is when coming into the week against Minnesota, they were receiving votes.
They
right?
were receiving.
So they were already in the conversation, and really
they didn't really do anything to quell that conversation.
Exactly.
You
take away it's not even the third period. You take the last 10 minutes of the game, of the second game against Minnesota, they take the game into overtime. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were right there, and they don't only just belong there; they can make some noise going on the rest of the season. I think they knocked off Clarkson twice.
This Clarkson game, they've lost their second leading scorer in Lauren Gable. She had 69 points last year. That's not something you can just replace overnight. They lost their starting goalie in Kadesi Saab, 1.17 goals against average. That's not something you can replace with. I mean, sure, they might have brought in a good class, but you can't replace that overnight. That takes years of development and growth for a college program.
All right, guys, let's stick with hockey at the Island Sports Center and go over to the men's locker room now. The men's hockey team dominated Bentley this past weekend. Do you guys think that Kapellmeister is worthy and deserving of the starting job? And do you think that this team is top-heavy in terms of talent?
Well, I think Kapellmeister has to be.
Yeah, Kapellmeister's proven that there's a reason they brought him from
Well, hey,
Ferris
let's talk
State.
about this. That Michigan Tech game where they started Cooper and he got yanked in the first period after allowing
That
5
was-
goals.
that was
And then it was
that was-
more of the same from Lubesmeyer when he came in. Kapellmeister only allowed 2 goals against this team, against a good Michigan Tech team.
Yeah.
I think he has to be the number 1.
Yeah, I would never disagree that Kapellmeister is the definite number 1 team. I think we talked about it on this show.
Yeah,
we said Kapellmeister was the guy.
He was named goalie of the week for the Atlantic Hockey the past week.
Exactly.
He's proven. He only has a 973 save percentage through three games. He's proven that he is that starting goalie for this team.
Yeah, and then like when we go to the top, talk about like the talent of this team is looking back at it, they're really you say they're asking if they're top heavy.
They don't have a
They
top.
don't have a top.
No, but they've only had 12 players with points. Only 2 defensemen. So I think that are they top heavy? No, because they have this depth scoring through their lineup. But do they have guys who are more likely to score than others, like most teams? Yes.
I just think they need to continue to spread out the scoring like they have been. I mean, they don't have a clear guy that's going to go out there and get you all the goals like, Brady Ferguson.
They
would.
didn't have a Ferguson. They don't have a Tonge.
Yeah, exactly. They lost him, and they're going to need to replace him with multiple guys like we've said before, especially like we said about the Penguins. But, I mean, nowhere near the level of the Penguins, but this team needs to replace it with multiple players.
Yeah,
I think this
totally
freshman
agree.
class of Santeri Hartikainen.
Hartikainen is very impressive.
Hartikainen you brought in guys like Brady Stono on the defense. I think these guys can contribute early. They contribute, just make this team into this
Again,
Atlantic
don't forget
Hockey
guys are still there.
contender.
Luke Lynch, Danny Mansueto, and Justin Dama, who were relatively good point getters last year. They should start scoring the puck. That's
Yeah.
really where they're at. This week.
I'm impressed with Santeri Hartikainen. I mean, I saw a couple games, and he went in there and was just out there laying checks and not showing up on the score sheet, but being a pretty great player.